down East Flatbush, I put on my bulletproof vest. You know, whenever I go down there, I always feel a little different than the rest. Sometimes I go down to Jersey, where my heart a little further left. It's a small price to pay to feel the wind blow and not be blown away. Oh yeah. God, she's a friend of mine, and I know she's a busy man. And we all need protection, and we all do the best we can. Oh yeah. Sometimes I go see my woman, I put on my bulletproof boots, so I hit the highway running. If the woman and the devil are in cahoots. Sometimes I go down East Flatbush, New York City. I put on my bulletproof vest. And Cat Stevens, he's called Yusuf Islam, and I hope he's feeling mighty blessed. Oh yeah. God, she's a friend of mine, and I know she's a busy man. And we all need protection, yes we do, and we all do the best we can. You do the best you can. Oh, will you love your brother, man? You're waiting on the world for your future to unfurl. Will you take it in your hand, or will you do the best you can? God, she's a friend of mine, and I know she's a busy man. And we all need protection, and we all do the best we can. You do better now. You do better now, baby. Oh yeah. You do better now. Got to do better now, darling. Oh yeah.
Hi everybody, I'd like to welcome my guest to the show. Clinton, I'm so happy to have you here.
So happy to be here.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I want to ask you, do you know what's the name of the show?
It's called Raw.
Raw.
Well said.
Yeah. I would like to ask you about the very beginning of your career, because I know it's been a long road, but developing really beautifully and successfully. So I know you were born in New York and
That's
then
right.
you moved south. Tell us a little bit
Way
about it.
south. My parents are New Yorkers. They were professional musicians themselves. But when I was born, they were living in Jamaica, West Indies, not Queens. And they ran a reggae club and a resort down in the west end of Jamaica. So I spent a lot of time there as a kid. And that was kind of the first music I heard. Before I knew a lot about American music, I knew like everything about Jamaican music. And yeah, that's been an interesting factor. Then I moved to Key West, Florida, which is sort of like America, only not quite. And started in classical music, believe it or not, classical piano. I had a fantastic teacher in Key West who just kept introducing me to new instruments, and it just sort of branched off from there. And then at some point, I stopped reading music and started improvising without anyone's permission, and started writing songs, I don't know, since I'm 10 or 11 years old. And I've been so lucky to come from a family that's always embraced whatever it is I wanted to do, especially if it had to do with music. So started making demo recordings when I was like 11, 12, and formed a big rock and roll group when I was about 12 that was
Wow.
with adults and kids.
That's impressive.
There's just a great music scene in Key West, and I really made the most of it, I think. Moved to New York when I was 17, started playing solo in the little clubs in Greenwich Village, and just sort of, just like you said, kind of a long road, just slowly built it up. I signed with an independent record label called 27 Sound, which is based out of Union Square in New York City. I've been with them for about 3 years. We've put out 2 full-length records, an EP, and then numerous live tracks. And I'm just trying to make as much music as possible and maintain a really strong relationship directly with my fans, and just give people what they want in music. It's a pretty simple formula, and it's working out pretty well for now.
Did you know from the very beginning that your passion for life will be music, or you were thinking about different paths?
No, it never really had any other path. Yeah, as boring as that may seem. And even though my parents were musicians, this wasn't something that was forced on me. But if you're surrounded by music, there's a pretty good chance you're going to fall in love with music. Nothing's ever crossed my path that I've thought, wow, that would be better than sitting around playing music all day. It just doesn't get better.
Right.
Yeah.
How would you describe your music?
Well, I guess the easiest thing to say would be, and what I guess a lot of artists want to say, is indescribable, because we try and pull from so many different things. My first record had a lot of country music to it, and this most recent record is more kind of New York influence with a lot of old school R&B, blues. It's hard for young artists to make blues records that anyone cares about. It kind of takes a little bit of living, a little bit of playing. So yeah, I'm heading in like a American blues direction. But we pull from Jamaican music. There's plenty of reggae, tons of rockabilly, New York City, folk from the '60s. Really, a whole lot of things. And I work with a bunch of great different musicians that sort of add their influence, and so you end up with something that I just like to think sounds like me. Yeah.
It's great to be surrounded with people who bring different sensibilities to your music, and it creates beautiful environment for you to create your own.
It can be kind of lonely out there as a solo artist just playing.
Yeah.
So now I've surrounded myself with some great musicians, and we've been very successful playing these live shows in New York, and the fan base just keeps growing, and the shows keep getting bigger, and the band keeps getting bigger. It's a really good time.
You mentioned that you moved to New York and you are based in New York, and I know that New York can be an amazing place for an artist, could be intimidating, could be pretty scary, or very inspirational. How do you view New York? What's your experience so far?
A lot. At this point, New York is just where I wake up in the morning, and it's just really all I know now. When you first move here, it's a hard place to break in musically. There's got to be 200 clubs in this city. So how you stick your head above water in a place like this, it's really tough, but it kind of demands the most of an artist, and it forces you to be, when you do a live show in New York City, you got to bring your A game, otherwise you just get washed out with everybody else. So yeah, it keeps you on the top of your game throughout.
Do you feel really, really strong, energized in the place where you are right now with your music?
Sometimes. Getting out of town has actually been a huge help. I'm from the South, and I just recently made a long drive with a couple of my musicians all the way down to New Orleans for Jazz Fest, and stopped along the way, played a couple house parties along the way, played some random gigs on the street. And that kind of thing, wherever you are, wherever you spend a bunch of years, that becomes your norm. And so I think it's really important for any artist to keep getting out. And when you live in New York City, you kind of sometimes forget that there's America right over there across the Hudson River. So I like to tune in with America, and a lot of my lyrics are kind of based in Americana and that kind of American mythology. So it's really important for me to get out. I still love New York, though.
So what song are we going to hear now?
We're going to hear a song from my record, Second Avenue Ball. This track is called Only Way Out.
Perfect. Let's do it.
roses at your feet when you play your part. And I scarcely can manage what I left at home. Gotta take what I need, leave what I want alone. So I raise my flag into the sky. Honey, put your gun away, away, away. Take the tear out of your eye. Don't wanna be run away. 'Cause the fall don't end when you reach the ground. Sometimes, baby, the only way out is down. Whoa, down. Poor, poor girl, don't belong in this whiskey room with your fine dress on. Maybe I loved you, but honey, I don't. I hope you're listening, baby. I know you won't. Oh, I know you won't. So I raise the flag into the sky. Honey, put your gun away, away, away. Take the tear out of your eye. I don't wanna be run away. 'Cause the fall don't end when you reach the ground. Sometimes, baby, the only way out is down. Oh, 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 oh. The only way out is down. Oh, 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 down.
We're back now. I'm Yola Nash. I'm your host of today's show, and my great guest is Clinton, and I'm so happy to have him here today with us. We're talking about his music, and of course, when we're talking about your music, I would like to know, how do you write your music? What's behind the curtain?
I'm very lucky with the process I get to do. Even though I'm hardly playing arenas or signed to a major label, but I kind of get to record as if I was. If I have an idea for a song, I can immediately go start working on it in the studio, which is such a gift. I'm just so lucky to be able to do that because you get real-time feedback. I work with the same producer for the last 3 years, who I trust with my life, let alone my music, and so I get instantaneous feedback, which I think it's important for me. I'm sure there are a lot of people who like to immerse themselves in their thing and then deliver it, but I like to start getting other people's input as soon as possible. So to be perfectly honest, all the good songs I've ever written, I can't tell you too much about how I wrote them because they happen really quick. I don't sit around obsessing over a line for weeks. I try to find a mood, write a lyric, and immediately start to think about the rhythm, because very rarely am I playing these songs like acoustic or on my own. It's immediately being tooled towards a big band, a really big band. So right from the beginning, I'm thinking about the whole arrangement, the horns, how many guitar tracks are going to be, what kind of keyboards are going to be, are there going to be any accordions, is there going to be an organ? So it's more than just lyric and music. Right from the start, I'm thinking kind of about the big picture. Now, if you're asking what it is I write about, it's about scenes from my own life with a very healthy dose of fantasy world put in. Sometimes it feels like life is not quite interesting enough to make it into a song, so you need to amplify it some way. And that can just be with one little twist on the truth or one great vivid lyric, which but either way, I wouldn't say that this is autobiographical music. It's just songs about things that I encounter in the city and traveling around in nightclubs, on highways. I've been leading a pretty interesting and blessed life for the last couple of years. So I try to just keep my eyes open, look for interesting characters in life, and then do my best to bring it to a larger-than-life place, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely,
Okay.
seriously. I know that some people, when they write like you mentioned, some people take time and don't sleep at night, and they really, really sit on those songs. And I'm wondering if, in your case, that process of writing is more cognitive, more intuitive, more emotional. How would you put it?
I really think it's different for every person, and I can say that it changes song to song. The part that takes the longest for me are the lyrics. I try to write every day, but sometimes it's just you could be walking down the street. A lot of times I'll be listening to another great songwriter, and something will go off, and I'll go, you know, that lyric's interesting, but what about this one? So lyrics tend to come like in one big flood. There's plenty of waking up in the middle of the night or staying up all night dealing with the lyrics. But when it's time to take that and turn it into a rock and roll song, I found a pretty streamlined way of doing it. And I've tried to keep the music more and more simple. My first album had lots of twists and turns and a lot of interesting musical turns. And I've tried to go back to like a standard blues form, R&B instrumentation, and just make music that makes people a little happier than they were before they heard it. So it's dare I say, a simple thing.
It's nice to hear that, because some songs can be a little heavy on you, but
yeah.
It's good
Even
to
the
bring
heavy
something
songs
uplifting.
can end up making someone feel better. I don't think people don't listen to music to bum out. At least not me and the people I know. I think some people do, but that's not what I'm about.
Did you have any idols, mentors when you were thinking about music? And
Yeah, a lot.
Tell me.
Well, it's May 24th. Today's Bob Dylan's 70th birthday.
exactly.
Everybody who has ever picked up a guitar or tried to write a song since has been doing it in the wake of Bob Dylan. Another great hero of mine, Arlo Guthrie, has like this joke that he tells at every single show he ever does, which is that writing songs is kind of like fishing, and you just sort of cast your line out and you hope that you get something. And then he says for the last 40 years he's been sitting downstream of Bob Dylan. So you sort of measure yourself out. I love Bob Dylan. You know, I just think that he took this art form to a place that's higher than anyone else ever did and changed it from that point on. But I love a lot of those songwriters from the 60s, the early 60s, you know, pretty much the typical list. I can't say enough about the Beatles. I can't say enough about Paul Simon. Recently, there are some great bands out of Brooklyn that are really inspiring to me. I'm a big fan of Sufjan Stevens, who does some really creative stuff. A band in Seattle called the Fleet Foxes, which I really love. There's great, and also there's never been more music being made on Earth as there is right now. It's a little harder to go find it because we don't have these huge record labels spending millions of dollars to throw it in our face. But there's such inspiration. I get inspiration from my, I would say mostly these days from my friends who are songwriters. I work in a great circle of musicians and incredible songwriters, and I hear their new songs, and that gives me an idea. I'm gonna go, And I think songwriters have been doing that for a long time. That's
There's so many songs today. It's like
So many
almost
songs.
overwhelming.
It's a great time for music.
So let's hear some more of your music.
Okay, I think the next song we're going to hear is called Honest Land. This is from my first record.
Perfect.
Sheriff said his pack of black dogs on me, so I'm bound for the road. Gotta beat the sun up out on Highway 10. Never thought them hills would see my face again. We'll hide out for the night down in New Orleans, where the truth is plain to see. Tell me who's gonna take up all that sin when all that water keeps rushing in. Nothing is better, nothing changed, nothing's different. It's just rearranged. When the sun be. They got their eyes on me from outer space. Every breath gets harder in this dying place. I wasn't born, kill no one. She can't go back. And what's done is done. And the sun is still shining somewhere. So take my hand, set out looking for some on this land. All that they see are mountains of tires. This place looks like hell, and I wanna go home. You left my brother in front of the fire. You left my brother in front of the fire. All that they see are mountains of tires. This place looks like hell, and I wanna go home. You left my brother in front of the fire. You left my brother in front of the fire. I regret 1,000 days I've lived. Forgive me, Lord, for I forgive. I believe the sun still shines on promising. We all go looking for some honest land. We all go looking for some honest land. We all go looking for some honest land.
Okay, and now is my next question about how do you deal with all the fans, the girls who are screaming when you get on the stage?
Well, darling, I have to. I would love to give you a nice long answer on that, but the truth is, I can't say that the girls are exactly tearing down the stage yet. I will keep that going. Mostly, how I deal with fans is I want to shake their hand afterward, give them a hug, give them some free music, and start a relationship. Because in this new world where we don't have Universal Records who are getting our fans for us, so we can just sit on tour buses, and that's, this is a good thing. We go get them ourselves, and they mean everything to us. So yes, girls are good. All fans are equally good, though. That's what I'm going to say.
Let's repeat your website again.
Yeah, it's clintoncurtis.com. There ain't no other place to go. That's the one stop.
And people can get your music from there, all
You
the
can get
information.
everything that I've ever done from there. You can buy the new album. You can get half the new album for free. And you can get every song I've ever recorded before the new album totally for free. So you show up, and by the time you've left my website, you can spend $9 and have 40 tracks, that's good value.
Absolutely.
We're trying to keep it that way.
Great. Clinton, I'm so happy we could talk about your music, your
It's been a pleasure.
projects. I'm really, really, really feeling so energized, and I want to hear
Well,
your
good.
life. And
Great.
thank you so much
Thanks
for
for having
stopping
me.
by.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank
you.
you.